Gee, Bill, 2 reviews? Yeah, but not 3 because someone didn't tighten up the graphics on level 3. Maybe it's because I'm retarded, but I like trying out handheld ports of console games. They're neat experiments in what developers can accomplish with a lot of limitations. There's something to appreciate even if the game's quality cannot survive such a steep hardware downgrade. Maybe it's because I'm retarded, but I also like getting used copies of handheld games from this era. The save files are almost always still there, and they almost always harbor intriguing mysteries. The previous owner seems to be a child named Fat SP. Oh, don't be so hard on yourself, Fat SP. You'll grow out of your embarrassing baby fat. Just give it some time and patience. Ew, your win-loss record is terrible, Fat SP. Your name should be Scrub SP instead. After mercilessly scrubbing Scrub SP's save from existence, I started my own and started playing. My favorite thing about Need for Speed Underground's differently abled handheld port is racing against 3 computer-controlled opponents as well as 1 additional meta-opponent. Yeah, a meta-opponent. The challenge of deciphering where the pixels begin and end is one that measures up to the most difficult portions of the console versions. Need for Speed Underground, Kind of Long Car Ride Advance Edition may gaslight you, forcing doubts about your ability to merely distinguish and determine colors. As a consolation prize, you get to hear a bit crushed version of Get Low, which I'm sure sounds great through Game Boy speakers. I felt like I was on the verge of going blind during the first hour of gameplay. Because the human body, mind, and spirit are adaptable things, that feeling eventually vanished. The handheld version of Underground exploits your natural resiliency. We really shouldn't be so accepting of bad situations. It's not good for anyone. I don't think we are completely malleable, but you can't hope for health if you're steeped neck deep in toxins. The most toxic flaw in this rendition is the completely random pacing. My first race in Underground mode lasted for 6 minutes. 6 minutes straight staring at this wreck. That's at least a couple minutes longer than the longest races console Underground has to offer. I bet making prisoners stare at this was a favorite torture, advanced interrogation technique at Gitmo, because indefinitely detaining people without trial isn't advanced enough. The handheld version's feature set compares to the console version better than I expected. You can't earn style points during races. Cosmetic and performance upgrades are only earned by winning races in Underground mode, but many of the bells and whistles are here. Some of the cosmetic upgrades are pointless. You can barely see them through the severe pixelation, but I still appreciate the effort. The controls are an all or nothing affair. You can't make subtle line adjustments by tapping the D-pad. You're either making a full turn or you are not. Even still, these are far from the worst controls of all time if you can somehow adapt your depth perception to Underground's messed up interpretation of it. Drag races and drift courses also make their way from console to handheld, and guess what? They're not very good. Believe me, there are some really good 3D racers on the Game Boy Advance, but Underground is one that really needed the Mode 7 treatment. I don't mind that the developers tried a full 3D experience, but it's a failed experiment that's more enjoyable as a study in technological limitations than as a game. Even more interesting than this is the tech demo for Resident Evil 2 that was made for the system. I would have really liked to see how the full version of that turned out. It's cool to review Game Boy Advance games though. Maybe I'll review a game that I actually want to play in 6 months.